everybody? Welcome back to Coach's Kitchen. And so the dish that I'm going to be making today, it's been highly requested by the fans. Everybody who's known me for a long time knows that this is something that I really live on. And I've really been making this since, I don't know, back in the days when I was a teenager, maybe like 13, 14, somewhere in there, living with my parents. And this is a dish that stayed with me, all throughout time, man. It's been there for the up times, like when I've got a lot of money, when I'm feeling great, I love to eat it. But it's also a great struggle food, like when I don't have a lot and I'm really going through it. This is a dish that I've made a lot of times that can give you a lot of good quality meals for not a lot of money, and it tastes delicious. So let me present to you hammer style pasta. Alright, so you really don't need a lot of ingredients. You definitely need some meat for this. I like to use beef the most, but you can use anything pretty much like all my other dishes. But to have this be true hammer style pasta, you definitely need some beef in there or some sausage. And so I use the 100% grass-fed ground beef. That doesn't mean it's 100% lean. You can see there it's 85% lean, 15% fat, which is still pretty lean. But 100% grass-fed means that the cows were fed grass their entire life. They were strictly on that grass diet and they weren't put on to grain. So a lot of times if it doesn't say 100% grass-fed and it just says grass-fed right there, is that they'll feed them for a lot of their life on grass. And then at the end, before the slaughter for the last couple months, they actually pump them up on grain and try to make them gain weight before that time. So if you see that 100% grass-fed ground beef, that's going to be healthier and have a better nutrition profile. You need some sort of noodles. I like to go with penne. Today I've got some of the mini penne. And then your sauce, you're going to need some Alfredo, and you're going to need some pizza sauce. And that's really all you need to make this happen. Today I'm actually going to show you a little bonus. I'm going to show you a little side that you can make with this. And so for that you're going to need some bread, some butter, and some cheese. Alright, so to get started, I've got my oven starting to preheat to 400. I've got a big pot full of water. I'm gonna get that boiling so I can put my noodles in there. And then I've got my meat in my pan here. And I've got a lot today, man. I've got about 2.5 pounds of beef in there. Might even be a little more, like closer to 3 pounds of beef. And I definitely want to make a lot. I don't know when you'll be watching this, but currently we are in quarantine on lockdown. So I'm trying to make about, I don't know, 4 meals for myself, maybe 5. We'll see how it goes though. But that's the nice thing about the hammer style pasta, is that you can really stretch out a lot of meals with this. If you're trying to kind of meal prep for the week, you can get a few meals ready. If you're cooking for a big group of people, whatever it may be, you don't need to spend a lot of money and you can get a lot of value for your food in this one. So I'm not going to do anything with this bread and cheese yet, but when I do, we're going to do a little homemade garlic cheese bread, I should say. So there's no reason for you to go out and spend a bunch of money to have this fancy garlic bread that you can just pop in the oven and all that. I'm going to show you how you can make it by yourself, cheap, with stuff that you probably have around the house already. And then I've got my noodles, I got my sauce ready, and we're pretty much just waiting for this water to start boiling. Waiting for this meat to get cooked up and browned a little bit. And I'm definitely going to put some spices on here yet. I'm not going to do that until the meat starts cooking a little bit. But I'm going to put on some salt, pepper, and my garlic herb sensation. Alright, so I flipped it over, put my seasoning on. You can see I've got a lot of black pepper on there. Some of the garlic herb sensation, and then some of the Himalayan pink sea salt. I like to get mine nice and seasoned because there's a lot of meat in there, so once you start to chop it up and move it around a little bit, it's not going to seem like very much. So don't be shy with your seasoning. Alright, so I'm going to get my garlic bread ready to go here. Even though it's not time to put it in yet, it's nice to just have it prepped and have it ready. So we're going to have some butter on here. And here's something that I've never done before, but I'm going to try it for the video. I put a little bit of butter on the side that's going directly onto the pan too, so hopefully it's going to get nice and crispy down there. But we're just going to butter up all 4 of these pieces of bread, and then I'll show you what we do next. Alright, and my meat is starting to come along here, getting nice and brown, so I turned it down a little bit. on about medium. My water is finally boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and throw my noodles in there. And for this particular type of noodles, it's going to take 7 to 8 minutes till they're al dente. But go ahead and figure out what that is for the type of noodles that you're using. Should be between like 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 minutes, somewhere in that range. And if you are not sure if your noodles are done, a really easy way to test it out is to use a spoon, get one of the noodles out of there, and just do a quick little sample. Alright, so I dumped about half the box of noodles in there. They say that that's about 4 servings. And I definitely want to have more meat than I do noodles. Some people are different on that. They want to have, you know, just a little bit of meat with a lot of noodles or whatever. Kind of depends on how much carbs and how much protein you want to have. But I definitely want to have a protein heavy meal today. Pretty much every day. So just keep it stirring. And I set my timer for 8 minutes there. And now we're going to get back to this garlic bread. And so I'm just going to keep buttering, especially the top side, but I'm going to put a little bit on that bottom side as well. Now I know some of you at home might be thinking, oh, but coach, I don't know if this garlic bread is going to be as good because I didn't buy it from the store, so it doesn't have all those fresh seasonings on there. Well, guess what, guys? No need to worry because we're about to put our own seasonings on there. So I'm going to season this up with some salt, some pepper, some garlic herb sensation, and then I'm going to put my Mexican style cheese right over the top of all of it. Alright, I've got my cheese bread ready to go. I'm going to pop it in the oven. Got my oven preheated to 400 degrees. I'm not sure how much time that takes. Usually I just kind of do the eyeball test, but I'll let you know when it's finished how long it took. So, alright. My pasta's been in here for about 8 minutes. So I'm going to take a couple little noodles, set them off to the side. We'll test them out and see if they're done. My beef, nice, it's getting pretty close. I do still see a little bit of like reddish pink in there. So now I can turn the heat back up because the rest of my meal is almost done. And it should just take a couple minutes to get the rest of this beef nice and brown here. Alright, my little noodles are ready to go. So I've got my strainer ready. I'm going to use a hot pan actually. Just going to grab this big pot. Dump out all that water. Give those noodles a minute to drain. And then this is what we're going to use to mix everything together. So you're going to make sure you got all that extra water out of there. Shake them up a little bit. Put these back in the pot, and then I'll show you the next steps. Alright, so now I've got my pasta back in the pot. I'm going to take my beef. And it's a little harder to do with one hand. There we go. I got all that beef in there with it. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my sauces and mix it up. So I'm just going to take what I have here. I only have like half of a can of Alfredo left. Otherwise I would definitely put a full one in there. And I've got about 1.5 cans of pizza sauce. So I'm going to put that in, mix it up, and I'll get right back with you. Man. So just about done. I don't know what's wrong with this last jar of pizza sauce, but I seriously cannot get this thing open. My hands are greasy. Oh, alright, there we go. Whew. Thought I was having. Alright, so I'm mixing up my sauces here. And for this hammer style pasta, let me tell you, man, the Alfredo sauce is what really sets it apart. So it still has that tomato sauce, that pizza sauce taste, but you get that little hint of Alfredo in there too, and it brings like a smooth creaminess that you wouldn't have otherwise. Alright, so this is what my final product looks like. Oh man, that looks delicious! Alright, and the last thing that I'm going to do to add a little extra flavor is I'm going to take some crushed, one second. There we go. I'm going to take some crushed red peppers. Drop a few in there for a little extra spice. and that's gonna give it a nice little kick. So let's see how our garlic cheese bread is doing in here. Oh man, that looks about good. Let's check it out. So that cheese is melted, starting to get a little bit of brown on there. Let's check on that bottom side. Ooh, I'm gonna leave it in there for about 1 more minute till that bottom gets nice and golden brown, and then we'll be ready to eat. So here we have it, guys. I've got a huge feast that could serve an entire family easily and probably have leftovers for $15. Spent about $11 on the beef, and that's because I get really high quality beef. You could get the same amount for probably $5 or $6 if you're more worried about the value there. Pasta, used only half a box, so I used what, like $1.50 worth of pasta, no big deal there. Can of pizza sauce, half a can of Alfredo sauce, so about $2 for the pizza sauce. Yeah, so about, you know, $3, $4 on sauce right there, and then just a couple slices of bread, a little bit of cheese, and a little bit of butter. Ooh, there we go. So this is probably going to feed me for quite a while. I would say, oh man, it depends on how much I eat right now. It's probably going to be a lot, but I should be able to get about 5 meals out of this, and that's like 5 big, hearty, you know, protein-packed, gut-busting meals right there. So I'm going to plate this up. We'll do the final taste test, and we'll see how it actually turned out. Alright, so here's what it looks like up close. Look at this garlic cheese bread. Oh man, that looks good. Take a look at the backside. Man, putting that butter on the backside was definitely a good move. Came out nice and crispy, nice and golden, a little bit of brown on there. We've got a big plate looking perfect. And let's see how much we have left too. Even that's a pretty big plate right there. That's a lot of food. And it looks like I didn't even make a dent in this pot, man. I've got at least 3-4 more meals that size in there. 3 more slices of cheese bread left. You know those aren't gonna last though. And this is what we're looking at. So if you want an easy meal that you can make for not a lot of money, feed a lot of people or get a lot of meals out of it, that's extremely satisfying, I would recommend for sure the Hammer style pasta. This is like my first dish that I ever really started making when I started my cooking process. Alright, so we're gonna do the taste test. We'll see how we did today. Sorry about that. Man, that takes me back. That is so delicious, man. The first thing that you notice is for sure the beef. The seasonings on that beef. The pasta goes in there really nice with it. But the creaminess of that Alfredo and the way that the pizza sauce and the Alfredo sauce come together to make one is such a beautiful thing. Man, I love that. So this dish is extremely important to me because, like I said, this is one of the things that I started cooking on. I started doing this, you know, back at my parents' place when I was a kid. And then, like, as I moved out and went to college, and like when I was going through those years when I was really struggling, like in my early 20s, when, you know, there was a lot of times like I didn't know if I was going to have money for my next meal and where it was coming from and stuff like that, man. This meal really held it down for me. Like through the tough times, through those early days of like struggling that made me the man I am today, this is one of these dishes that was always there with me. So it's got a special place in my heart. If you guys want to try it out at home, definitely do that. Let me know how it goes for you. Maybe this can become a staple in your life too.